AI will not replace coaching businesses, service-based businesses, education-based businesses, but those who know how to take their brand message, their authentic story, and infuse that into AI will replace those who do not. I'm going to walk you through some of my predictions and some of the things that I've already seen firsthand in working and consulting in a lot of different companies and brands in the coaching space, the education space, and some of its service-based businesses. And I want to show you how I've seen firsthand AI really starting to help amplify people's businesses when they use it the right way, when they use it to truly get themselves to stand out in a sea of a lot of people that are putting out what I call AI slop. They're just sloppily using AI in their marketing. They're having AI write their ads, write their content and their emails and things like that. And they're not really leveraging AI the way I think that most smart business owners should be leveraging AI. And so I'm going to walk you through some of the things that I am personally doing, that I have seen, and that I'm helping other companies do in hopes that it helps give you some insight into how not to quote unquote become replaced, which I think is a bit of fear mongering. Now, I do think there is some validity. I think there are certain businesses that were just not going to be as highly valuable to the consumer. And secondly, if you're not evolving in really overcoming this market sophistication, and you're not evolving with the market and you're kind of staying stuck in the Stone Ages, which in the age of AI, the Stone Ages, it's really fast moving. So what was like in a couple months ago might be out a couple months later. And this is more so pertaining to how to use AI and really how to show up and infuse this stuff inside of your marketing with your brand messaging, your content, your everything that you're doing to essentially drive leads and generate clients or customers for your brand. And then secondly, how to leverage it in terms of systems so that you could delegate more and reduce the cost that it takes to actually run a business, because you don't need to necessarily hire the same amount of people that you maybe used to needed to hire a couple months ago, or sorry, a couple years ago. Rather, you can leverage AI for that too. So I was asked this question on Facebook and I thought it was a great question, and I'll read you my response to segue this. But somebody asked me, hey, with regards to health, wellness, and happiness, what would you consider the big booms of 2024 and 2025? His take was AI for wealth, GLP-1s, the peptides for health, and not figured out happiness. And so I want to read you my response. And I was like, that's a great question. So for health, definitely like the pep. And by the way, this is super relevant to know like where people's attention's going, because attention was the biggest currency up until just recently. Authenticity is the new currency. And I heard this from Myron Golden, so I'll give him credit. I heard him and I agree that attention obviously is still a currency. Of course, like money's a currency, highly valuable information's a currency, but it's not as valuable as it once was. It's easy to buy attention, to get attention, but it's getting the right attention. And to get the right attention is about authenticity. And so knowing what these big trends are, knowing where people's attention's already going, it allows you to know how to position your brand in a way that helps to either polarize where people are currently going, or to be able to find your unique footprint inside of that current market attention. And so I was like, yeah, definitely disrupted, but I'd also say the shift to performance longevity. And so anybody, if you're running a health business, a wellness business, a fitness business, this is important to really know this stuff, right? I think things like peptides, wearables, recovery tech, and biohacking are gaining more mainstream attention from people. People aren't just chasing fat loss anymore. I think people are chasing superhuman health. In wealth, I think 100% AI is obviously the big one, but it's not just the use of AI. It's the rise of who controls the message and distribution with AI. And this is where I'm going to hang out with this video for a little bit. But those who can manage things like storytelling and AI tools are going to dominate, because that blends authenticity with AI. And that's the marketing's drowning in slop and craving a true signal from somebody that they can resonate with. In happiness, my take is community. I think people realize in 2024, this has been going on since COVID, but I see this emerging with live events. Like I just recently held a live event. I've got people that are like asking me to continue to do our mastermind stuff that we're doing. But I think freedom, wealth, and health doesn't mean much if you feel isolated. And feeling isolated doesn't mean that you don't have any friends. It doesn't mean that you're trapped at home like in COVID days. I think it's just you don't have a solid community around you. The big boom here is the move towards tribes, masterminds, and shared experiences from local communities to global ones. And it's about people feeling the sense of belonging. That's the feeling that I think people are craving. So with health, I'm looking at performance longevity, I think is a really big boom moving in. And this can matter a lot with how you position your brand. Wealth is AI and storytelling and how you're using it, AI to distribute content. And happiness, community, and connection is absolutely key. And so if we segue this back and let's hang out into the kind of wealth category for today, let's look at how to be able to leverage this stuff now. But all of this I want you to look at, I want you to consider. Like I moved more towards holding live experiences. Like we just did this whole mastermind on a boat, freaking going wake surfing, hanging out in an awesome house on the intracoastal waterways and masterminding for a couple days. And people loved it. It was fantastic. And I want you to think, how can you do more of that inside of your business? Even if it's not necessarily hosting a big, maybe you're just going to have a little 1-day meetup, or you rent a boat for a day and go out on a boat on a lake or the ocean or whatever, right? Finding ways that you can facilitate that's going to only help bring more community to your business, which is going to help you with becoming more profitable, keeping clients longer, getting people better results because there's more immersion. And then now going back to the messaging piece. So I want you to really look at what is your actual brand message? Do you know? And is it the same as what everybody else is doing? Because if you scroll through people's news feeds, if you go to Facebook ads library and just look at ads inside of your space right now, if you go to YouTube, a lot of the videos, a lot of the content, a lot of the ads, they look strikingly similar. A lot of people have very similar messages. And because of that, it's like very commoditized. People don't know why you're different than anybody else. And with the continued rise of people leveraging AI to write their copy, to come up with their scripts, to outline their videos, you're going to see more and more of the same shit. And I really think that it's getting sloppy out there. Like I made a joke the other day on Facebook that like all of a sudden people are just using M dashes everywhere. And it's a very clear sign that people are using AI for content when you see M dashes all over their stuff. Now, obviously M dashes are proper grammar, but nobody was using that stuff. Very few people are using that. You might be one of the originals. I don't know. But I really believe that when we are writing content, we need to have that authentic message. And an authentic message to me means that when it comes to the main person that you're serving, the main problem that you're solving in your business for somebody, the main dream outcome, that you're so clear and specific on that, that you can articulate that so well across your marketing that people are going to automatically assume that you have the solution. Meaning, you know the symptoms, you know exactly what's going on. It's like inside of your ideal client's head, inside of that person's, your ideal customer's mind. Like you can enter that conversation and know how to speak it so clearly. That's key. And then being able to position your brand as different, having a big idea or a unique solution or something that you're bringing to the marketplace that just stands you apart, right? Like, sure, let's say that you're in fitness. Let's use this as an example, and you're helping people lose weight. There's working out, there's eating healthier, there's taking care of your mindset, there's learning habits. It's all the same crap. But like, how can you show up with a big idea? Does this make sense? And so back when I was in fitness, I had what was called the stubborn fat solution. All of my audience was like, my metabolism is broken, my metabolism is slow. And despite my best efforts, nobody cared. Nobody would be like, anytime that I tried to tell them your metabolism can't literally break, maybe you're dysregulated or whatever, people were like, that's sciencey, it doesn't matter to me. I was using coach language. But when I was able to tap into being like, you know what, I'll show you how to quote unquote fix your metabolism by eating right. People were like, I think I am eating. And so I distinguished between eating healthy versus eating right. And people were like, oh, I'm eating healthier, but I don't think I'm eating right. I'm like, yeah, when you eat right and you have the proper metabolic type of workouts, then all of a sudden your metabolism will operate functionally and you'll be able to shed the fat. People were like, oh, dang. So I brought this big idea to my market, the stubborn fat solution, that people were like, How do I learn more? And this got us hundreds of clients. This helped us generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in our business. And the same thing is true that I've done now, right? I'm constantly bringing, as the market evolves, I'm not changing what I'm doing. I'm evolving with the market, right? So I'm bringing out these big ideas. Like we have our magic messaging framework. This is how I teach people how to do proper messaging so that all of their content, their ads, their marketing, everything that they're doing communication wise, advertising wise, produces them more leads, produces them more calls booked because we're fixing the words that they are saying. And we're turning those words into clients utilizing systems. This is the big idea that I bring to the market. So you have to have that big idea, that unique solution. And when you can have that first, then you start to plug that into AI to help you leverage it. That's where the power becomes. That's where you get out of the AI slop and you're using your authentic voice, your message, your story, which we haven't even talked about, into AI and using AI as the tool. And so I have a process that I call the GPT sandwich. And so for me, I heavily use ChatGPT. I've built out GPTs. And in fact, I've just come up with a brand new, I had a previous GPT that I taught people how to create called the Content Writing Ninja. I've just come out with one. I'm still working on it, but it's 90% done. It's called the Content Alchemist. And it basically shows, this thing has been freaking programmed. And it essentially takes somebody's authentic message in their story and it shows them how to it basically turns it into their voice through a process that I have where people have to give it their authentic voice through transcripts, through writing, and things like that. But that's how you use it. And the GPT sandwich is 10%. So think about the first 10%. It's like the bread of the sandwich. This is where you use it to maybe ideate or brainstorm ideas. So you might, how I typically do it, I'll go into the GPT that we currently have, and I will be like, and this GPT's already heavily trained. You don't have one heavily trained. You could just do the standard for now. But I would be like, hey, I'm thinking about creating an email or creating a workshop or whatever it is you're creating. And I'm literally using the little voice note on it and just talking into it like it's an assistant. And I'm saying, I want the topic to be around messaging and how really when somebody learns how to communicate the right words in the right way to the right people, and they plug that into an actual conversion system, they're going to be able to start converting and they're going to escape this content commodity trap that so many creators are falling into right now. So this is the concept that I want to talk about. Can you help me come up with a really good kind of big idea or topic that would resonate with my ideal clients? Now, I have already taught what my messaging, my ideal clients to these GPTs, but when I ideate with it, it'll help me take my thinking and form it into a topic for me. And then I'll see it and I'll be like, cool. And then the 80%, you can have the GPT help you with this. So you can say, cool, write me out an email, and it'll write it for you. And then you could take that. So that could be the 80%, or you could do the 80%. So this would be like you forming out the actual structure of the email or whatever it is that you're creating, you coming up with the hook. And then once you do that, you want to eat. So if you have the GPT do this, you still want to go through and you want to actually change up the framing of it. So you know how GPTs, excuse me, GPTs will come up with random questions, right? It'll say stupid stuff, right? Or it'll use random M dashes, which you wouldn't normally do. What I do there is I get rid of that stuff and then I'll rewrite it in the way I would naturally articulate it to somebody else. Does that make sense? So I imagine that I'm just having a conversation with somebody and that's how I will rewrite it. So that's how you want to do it. So the 80%, you can have the GPT help, or you can literally write it out how you would naturally do it. Or you can go in there and voice dictate it and then have it just detail it out. And just then so that's like the meat. The last 10% would be the other part of the bread. And this is where I can use the GPT to help me reformat or structure it to maybe help condense it. Like for me, I'm naturally very long-winded. I don't know. People are like, this is just who I am. All right. And so I might have it in a post, take out the the 80% that's not going to matter. And I might have it keep the 20%. So what I'm doing is just cleaning it up. I'm helping it reformat perhaps, or restructure, or see if I can add any more depth or context, things like that. Or maybe I can make my story a little bit better if I shared a story in there, things like that. So that's like the 10%. And sometimes that 10% can be you too. You don't even need the GPT to do that. You can naturally go in there and develop the skill of doing that as well. And that's how I'm using it to create content, to ideate, to do things, is 10, 80, 10. And I want to be involved in as much as possible, especially around the important parts of coming up with a hook, of structuring, especially if it's a writing project, like a piece of content or an email or something like that. I want to do my best to make sure it's coming out the way I would say it, not the way the GPT would say it. And I want to make sure the context and depth is there around my message, so that I'm not sounding just like everybody else, but there is some of my own perspectives added. So there's novelty to it. Does this make sense? And then once you have that system, where we want to start to use it is in distribution, right? So this is, for me, how I do it. I will create a YouTube video like this, or a podcast episode. Perhaps I'll do a workshop. I'll take the transcript from that. I will feed it to the GPT, and I'll say, hey, and prompting is very important here. I'll typically just voice note everything. This is just the way my brain works. But I will say, hey, I want you to maintain my exact voice, tone, cadence, word choices, the way I flow through everything. I want you to help me take this transcript from this video I just did, and I want you to help me write an email. And then from there, it might be like write an Instagram carousel. All right, from here, I want you to, and then I could direct it to what I want to do. And I can even say, hey, I want you to keep my same story that I shared around this. Or I want you to use the exact metaphor that I used in the way that I used it here. Does this make sense? And so like I'm now taking it, and it's allowing me to distribute and create more pieces of content off of less work. And then I use that same GPT sandwich method, right? So I'm using that 10% to start to get what I want. It'll produce the 80% for me there. And then the other 10% is me going in and cleaning it up, like I mentioned before. So simple. And then, of course, you can use tools like Opus AI to repurpose Reels. We use that, and Descript. Descript is an amazing software that I use to help me get rid of the ahs and the ums and the filler words, and helps me cut space. And you can also get Reels and stuff from it as well. And so that, my friend, is freaking key. So that's basically how we are using it. This is how you not get replaced by AI, but you start to replace in the nicest way. Everybody has, this is an even playing field. Everybody has an opportunity to. But if you can learn how to be the controller, and as I stated here, I truly believe this, that if you know how to control the message and the distribution using AI as a tool, and you can merge your story, your brand message into the AI tools, I'm telling you, like, you are going to dominate for the foreseeable future. So that's my 2 cents on it. I would love to hear what stood out for you. What was a big takeaway for you? And leave a comment down below. Make sure to click subscribe to get more videos, and we'll chat soon. Love, peace, chicken grease.